room now.
Okay. Okay. So then we'll call the meeting to order at 7:05. And I was just pulling up my version of the agenda. 10:03. Okay. So first thing on our agenda is actually public comment. So just wanted to check and see if there's anyone in the waiting room, or if you want to raise your hand, we can find you to bring you over for public comment.
No hands up.
No one? Okay. So then our first appointment is with Marianne Anderson about pickleball.
Moving her over now.
Awesome.
Hey, Marianne, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Hello.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again for including our letter on your agenda tonight. Because I just want to give a little bit of background about the history of the pickleball program here in Southborough. More than 6 years ago, the Recreation Department offered a pickleball clinic so that people could learn different strokes and the rules of the game. From that evolved a once-a-week program, again run by a volunteer, and that then evolved into a 3 times a week playing over at the Neary courts. At that time, the department bought 2 portable nets, and those nets have been used up until today, up until currently. And we played Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over at the Neary courts, and we would take the nets and put them up and take them down every time we played. And they were in a lockbox that we had the combination to, so that we were able to do that. And we continue to play, over the years at the Neary courts in the summertime. And then we went indoors, and indoors we were able to continue at the South Union School. And that was, again, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program, 9 to 12. And all this time, there was a volunteer resident who would use a list of email addresses. And he would, notify us that when we were going to play, and we would, answer him. And then we would come together when we would play. We continued at the South Union Street School. And again, we would set up 1 net there, and we would play Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 12. And at the end of play, of course, we'd have to take the net down. All during this time, other than the nets that were purchased, we all had to own our own rackets, and we brought our own pickleball balls at that time. At the end of last summer, 2022, the CPA funded permanent outdoor courts, and they were opened, and we were able to play on those courts. And we were very excited because we didn't have to put nets up and take them down. So we started playing on those, and we played through November, and then we went back indoors. And at that time, when we returned to the indoor facility, and we scheduled a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a Tuesday afternoon session, and the Recreation Department decided that we had to sign up for a session, and that we would then do a 7-week session, and we were going to be charged $10 for each session. And so we continue to play. Of course, we signed up, accordingly, and every 7 weeks we would sign up again. During the winter, the Recreation Department offered 2 beginner classes, and at that time, 2 of our group members volunteered to teach those players, again, the rules of the game and how to play the game, because obviously they would come in and they really might not know what to do. And actually, Johanna was one of our students, and she continues to play today outdoors, and she's doing quite well. So after that, we went back outside, and we continued with our email group, and we played Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning. The rec department has offered, I think now it's up to 9 sessions of pickleball this summer and into the fall. And it appears that they have gotten some pretty substantial income from that, which is good to support the pickleball program. An instructor was hired, and some of the equipment, she has some balls and I guess some other equipment. I don't know what else was provided for her, but at that time, that was currently what's being used. You know, at this point, we would like to, we kind of feel like our original group have been ambassadors for this pickleball program. And just to give you an idea of what we have done over the summer when this program has continued to grow, we welcome new players. We've accommodated the courts for the lesson. Of course, you know, Tim has designated 2 courts, but when those courts get filled up, we have in turn set up the portable net again at Finn's school. We put the net out, and you know, our group kind of plays on that net while leaving other groups, you know, to play on the permanent courts. You know, if there are groups that are not, they don't have a complete, you know, 2-on-2, you know, our group members have offered to play with them and stuff. So we really feel that we are trying to make a welcoming group, you know, as far as this pickleball program goes. We realize that, you know, there hasn't been a lot of expense for this program because, you know, originally, now, of course, the 2 portable nets, you know, were purchased, but those nets are still in very good shape and probably will be in good shape for another 5 years or so, maybe even 10 years, as long as they're taken care of, which we have done in the past, you know, by putting them in the lock boxes and being able to take them out. And, you know, set them up and put them back in. You know, we all have our own rackets, and that's been the way from the very beginning. Now, Tim did buy a couple rackets, you know, some wooden rackets and some balls last winter when he had some new beginner groups, but they have not been really used. Some of the balls have been used, but, you know, even in the summer program, we provide our own balls, and, you know, we just kind of play. So at this point, I don't see a big expense for, you know, the pickleball program, except for when he's hiring on like an instructor and providing her with that equipment. You know, as far as in the future, you know, obviously, you know, the nets are new, the courts are new. You know, there are a few things that the courts need to be addressed, but, you know, that Tim, I think, said he's going to be doing that. And, you know, and as long as, you know, you keep maintenance of that, you know, again, those nets should, you know, last for a number of years. And, you know, I don't see any big expense there. You know, we realize that you've done a wonderful job with providing the youth programs, and you keep adding on to youth programs, which is great. But I feel there is a underserved population in this town, and that is the adults and the seniors of Southborough. And so when we look at you know, programs for adults and seniors, you know, this pickleball program is certainly growing. And when we move indoors, you know, obviously there's only 1 court available at the South Union School. And, you know, one of the things we're looking at in the letter, and we can address the things in the letter, but one of the things we're looking at is an affordable indoor program, you know, and maybe, you know, increasing that program. You know, we did do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday afternoon, but, you know, is there any reason why, you know, we can't still do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday and do morning and like early afternoon, 12:30 to 2 or something? You know, I know that, you know, Tim has done some preschool programs that are coming up in that school building. And then, of course, there's some late afternoon programs for after school. But, you know, during the daytime, it doesn't appear that school is being used to any great extent. You know, and again, making it affordable. I mean, we have, our group is largely consistent of seniors. And, you know, again, there's no charge. There's no cost to our program. We all have our rackets. We bring our own balls. You know, the only cost would be maybe, you know, the lights, you know, in the room, but, you know, and of course the heat, although we don't need heat, but I think that's just the building. The heat is always on in that building, but, you know, you know, we're just trying to promote this program and encourage people to play and like I said, serve the adults and seniors of Southborough. So I will end with that. And if you want to go over the list on the letter that was sent to you from our group, I would be more than happy to address some of the issues in the letter.
All right. So I think maybe just like one thing I think I just want us to talk a little bit about to clarify, like, or maybe I'll step back and say that I think it's awesome to see groups that kind of like grow out of something like organically. And that is something that is how pickleball has kind of grown through town. And by partnering with Rec, like building this program, and we are seeing like unprecedented demand for this across the board. It's not just our town, it's other towns as well. So it's definitely something that's growing, and as it grows and gets bigger and bigger, as with all of our programs, it becomes this balance between like serving the community across the board and all the other things that are also going on in recreation. So I think it's so part of this with the scheduling is going to be about balancing these things and like how as it grows and morphs into like bigger official programs, there's more of a standard way that they are run or the way we schedule them or things like that. So as you talk about kind of like the evolution of this, a little bit of what I hear from kind of like being a little bit behind the curtains is seeing this program grow and morph. And as it does, a little more structure comes to it. So I understand that and recognize that. And then just wanted to talk a little bit about the fees and what they go towards, because I think in some of Tim's feedback to you in the group is spot on. The fee is not necessarily like just to buy that one thing. Like as you think about it, there's wear and tear in our courts, there's wear and tear in our buildings, there's staffing needed, there's our front office when people are calling to ask questions, there's replacement of nets, there's replacements of locks when keys get lost and things like that. So there's a lot of pieces that these fees go towards to help cover to keep rec and all of the programs running. And like one of our core things is that we really want to make sure that everything is accessible to everyone. So like that is something I personally take kind of pride in as a rec department. We have been very conscious of that in everything that we do. And we will continue to try to make it as accessible as possible to everyone. So like that's kind of my initial thoughts. I don't know if anyone else on the commission wants to say anything, and then I think we can start walking through the letter. Johanna?
Thank you. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, Johanna. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Nice
Good.
to see you here. So Marianne, I totally agree with you. Like the pickleball program in Southborough has really grown. A lot more people are accessing it. So many people are enjoying it. I love seeing those courts filled. Like almost, I'm sure at this point, I think that they're filled almost like every single morning. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that we have going in Southborough. And I love the fact that our recreation department was able to get the funding from the CPA in order to build those like 4 standard courts. I know that there has been a lot of discussion within your group as well as like other groups that use those courts about what happens during the winter. I just wanted to ask you a question and just get some clarification on your thoughts around when you're talking about bringing some of this pickleball programming to the South Union building over the winter time. Are you talking about for the original group that started kind of the pickleball program in Southborough, 6 some odd years ago? Are you talking about opening it up so that all Southborough residents who play pickleball will have an opportunity to sign on and use and play pickleball in the one indoor pickleball court in South Union?
Definitely, it would be open to everyone in Southborough. And that's why I think you really need to look at offering more times. And again, when I reviewed some of the scheduling as particularly last year, there are a lot of open times in that South Union building. And like I said, we did a Monday, Wednesday, Friday last year and a Tuesday afternoon. And, I don't know if there's any reason why we can't still do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can even do like a 9 to 10:30, 10:30 to 12. You can do a 12:30 to 1, and fill those areas with people that want to come and play pickleball. And that to me would encompass a large number of people in this town. And you may have to be creative and say, maybe you can only sign up for 1 or 2 sessions, whatever, when it gets that, because there are a large number playing outdoors now. And I think by offering that and putting that in the schedule, and it would be available to the members of the community, the adults, and I think that's important.
Thank you for that clarification, Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
If I can, I'll just jump in on a couple things before I guess we run through the letter. So first and foremost, I came in towards it's just a statement. I came in towards the beginning of the group. The group kind of introduced and welcomed me into their group when it came to pickleball. And so, Marianne, I just want you to know I'm very thankful for all you've done with the group and taking the reins with the handover once the group started changing and people moving out of town. And it's on our end, obviously, from what our profession is, really cool to see the way it's grown and being able to expand it and welcome it in town. As I do know, it's come with its challenges. I know we've had our challenges as well, just to try to navigate kind of the explosion of what it is. So just talking about schedule, because I know that's going to come up, so I might as well talk about that right now. Like I mentioned to you, Marianne, and I'll just say it publicly, we have things planned through the winter right now. Like you mentioned yourself, we have preschool programming in the mornings, Monday and Tuesday right now. We are planning to do lessons indoor because of the demand for it. Most likely, it's looking like Wednesday, Thursdays limited early in the morning. So Joe and I have been talking a lot about it, and we are more than happy to offer time. We are just trying to, as Jen alluded to, we're trying to balance making sure that we have some freedom in that space, because we know there is after school programs that are going to move into there. We know we have our trainings over the winter that are going to move into that space in the afternoons after school, as well as standalones, as well as, school holidays, things of that nature. We need to be mindful a little bit over the winter on when staff is actually going to be there. We have ski and snowboard coming up. That's going to take away all of our staff from the office. So, we can't really have programming sponsored by us upstairs with no one in the office to be there, just in case, God forbid, something happens. So I want to say that we will be offering time. It's just a matter of seeing where we can fit it in realistically. I don't believe we'll be able to do 5 days a week as your letter requested, but I'm hopeful that we can do the 2 to 3 days a week, whether that be in the mornings or the afternoons. However we can fit it. The court's up there, that's why it's up there, but it's again a balancing act just to make sure that we're equaled out and we're being thoughtful to all the groups in town.
But Tim, one question I have to ask you is, I know that you said something about continuing pickleball classes, and my question there would be is that because right now we have such a large group of players, would it not be advantageous maybe to offer those classes basically in the spring, summer, and fall outdoors, where you do have the additional courts and that you can accommodate more of those players instead of doing it in an indoor when you are limited? And I'm looking at, I see you do the preschool and things like that, and and what do you say, Monday and Tuesdays, but can you not? I don't know when those preschools are. 9:30, whatever it is. I mean, can you not still put us in? Because I know there was a preschool class that would come in, I think 9 to 9:45 one morning, and we came in at 10 o'clock to 12. And that worked out fine. We would come in, and the same with the early afternoon when you talked about having your after school program coming in. That's going to be what, 2:30, 3 o'clock. So you're looking at a 12:30 to 2 o'clock time. I mean, again, those times might be available because no one might be using it at that time. As far as your staff, I don't know who's in the office and when you're in the office, or what your schedules are, but we have been running this program in a volunteer situation, except for last year. And I don't know if people were in the office when we were up there, in a volunteer situation, but that's been the case, and it's worked out okay. I understand the liability, but I don't know if the other department, the Department of Family Services, could kind of cover that liability portion of it. But as far as that concerned, that's just a question.
So it's town policy that if anybody's in the building sponsored by whatever department it is, someone from that, a full-timer town employee, needs to be on site with that. They become more strict in that. We've admittedly, I think, bend a little bit when the group was smaller, but as things have gotten bigger and the demand's gotten higher, and it's not just you all, it's all different programs that we do in the building. If we have people there on the weekends, we have to have staff there on the weekends and things like that. So that's just town policy that we have to abide by on that one. When it comes to the lessons, we're not saying that we're going to, do hours and hours and hours and hours of lessons, but we do want to accommodate just because we're seeing the demand for it. So I recognize, that it would take 2 or 3 hours out of the week to do it. But I don't think I would be doing my job if I wasn't making that opportunity available to individuals looking to play, so that come the spring, they have the skills necessary to get out there with you all and enjoy the courts outside. So when you hear lessons, don't think that we're doing 10, 15 hours a week of lessons. It's only probably gonna be 2 or 3 hours out of the entire week up there. But again, that's just keeping the momentum and meeting the demand that we're hearing on that one from our perspective.
So it sounds to me, Tim, like you've answered all the questions here. I don't know what's left to go through. I mean, it's a limited capacity. We as a town, we have limited indoor capacity, especially for the time frames, especially since it's really the only non-school building that we have, at least for now. We'll see what happens to the building in the future. So keep that in mind as people talk about the future of this building. So I think you've addressed it. I think you're balancing out the best you can. I believe that we can't compromise on the risk and liability. Would be unacceptable in my mind. And so from that perspective, I think you're working as best you can, and I think you made a commitment here. So I'm not sure what's left, Jen, if we need to go through all the points or if we're
I have a question.
We could debate this all night.
I have a question.
I think Tim's done a good job.
All right, Kristen, what you got?
And I'm sure you guys have already discussed this, but as Tim highlighted, clearly this is just a space issue, not an understanding of the need and the desire. And if we could, God knows we'd want to satisfy all of it. So I agree with him. Make sure everyone playing pickleball is watching the 21 Highland discussions. My question, I guess, maybe to Tim is like, have we exhausted any other potential resource opportunities? I mean, obviously the schools are out. I don't think there's a space at the public safety building. The only thing that comes to mind is like, I know Fan St. Mark's have the same challenge, right? Like they're going to have programs and people in their facilities, but they have a lot more facilities. Like I think of the field house that they sometimes lent us to practice in lacrosse. Like, are they using that during the day? And that's turf. And could that be something we use? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? The field house near Fay?
I get what you're saying, but also that's during school hours while kids are in session, Kristen. So I feel like that's probably like, I'm sure like probably a non-starter, right? Same as our schools during the day.
I just wasn't sure about that one kind of weird field house off the gyms. I mean, yeah, like I said, I was thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Where
I mean, like I feel like
a door in and door out that has nothing to do with the school. And
yeah, I feel like what this comes down to is like we just have like very limited to no indoor space, and like the fact that we are running pickleball in that upstairs room in South Union is kind of amazing in my eyes. But I agree, like it's just a space constraint, and we need to balance like all of the people that are asking for that space and all the other services that we provide. And then also like, I mean, it's also used by town and for meetings and stuff like that as well. So
I had a question kind of along the same lines of what Kristen was just asking, but this is more from the point of view of, I know that there are some recreation organizations that will have a deal with like Westboro Swim and Tennis or other like tennis clubs that have pickleball courts available. So it's not necessarily our own facilities, but if you want to take tennis lessons or if you want to take like golf lessons, like recreation will have some sort of contractor deal to use like, a golf course somewhere like Juniper Hill in Northborough. Have we explored anything along the lines of that? I know it wouldn't be located in Southborough itself, but at least it could be some sort of like commitment to have X amount of spots for Southborough residents to play pickleball under contract, over the course of the winter or something. And it could be Westboro Swim and Tennis. I know that there's a club in Shrewsbury. I think that there's a couple of places in Framingham. Like there are indoor pickleball spaces like locally in the Metro West area. Has anything like that been explored since we do have limited indoor space?
Yeah, I worked with Pam over at the senior center, the director over at the senior center for a little bit. I believe she was trying to, and I don't want to get any facts wrong here because it was kind of a loose and quick thing. I believe it was Westboro Swim and Tennis. She was trying to get time and an instructor over there, but I don't believe it went through. I could be wrong. Maybe they did figure something out, but with my time working with her on that, it did. It didn't seem like it was going to be an option. But you're right. I mean, we know there's, I think Marlboro, maybe 4 Kicks in Marlboro. There's like a $10 drop-in fee if you wanted to go play, you know, things like that. So it's definitely around us. I mean, if that's a direction that the commission wants, I mean, Joe and I could definitely research that and happily make that public, just as more of a public service announcement to anybody who's looking for more indoor spots. I mean, that's at minimum something we can do.
I think that's a great idea. And then my other question was, like, we don't know how this winter is going to be, right? Was reading about El Nino the other day and what that might mean for New England. Like, we could have a totally mild winter. So what's the deal with Finn then?
So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about today. So policy of the department has always been, and it's the same over at NERI, that after Thanksgiving, the nets get taken down. Obviously, winter is not what winter is. So I was actually hoping tonight we could make a vote of endorsement and I could just pass it along to Public Works that at minimum, the Finn courts, the pickleball courts stay up. Those courts stay up through the nets stay up through the winter. Just in case we do have a mild like last winter. I mean, it was pretty much spring all winter, to make that available, you know, to the public if they want it.
Do we have any reasonable idea? But I would just be concerned with icing over and whatnot. Like this, by taking the nets down, we basically are saying that the courts are not usable during those time periods, and that sort of avoids the possibility of slip and fall, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, do we? I would imagine that. How would you handle that?
So, I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at it. One, you know, there's the Open Recreation Act that would protect us on the state level, because we wouldn't be doing any organized play, organized programming out on those courts during that time. So I know that's what a lot of towns go by. That's kind of what they use to justify it. But that is the reason why we used to take them down. I know that concern was there. Obviously, you know, much more severe in years past. But maybe we say we keep them up until the first snow or the first freeze or something like that at minimum, because I think we know come Thanksgiving, you know, knock on wood, there's not going to be snow on the ground or anything like that.
Yeah, now you're jinxing us.
Yeah.
Or whether you need signage or I don't know if we need signage, and then is there a clear path to the courts? As long as I understand. To me, taking the nets down is a clear limitation of liability, right? That takes it off the table. So that'd be the only thing that we just have to think about. Like, do you actually have to put the "please don't play on the courts when it's icy" sign, just like they have to put your coffee may be hot words on your coffee?
Yeah. What about taking a step further, but this creates a burden on Tim and the department, is that why are these any different than the soccer fields, right? All spring and fall, you know, I'm not saying day by day, but maybe week by week, or, you know, a reasonable time period where we post and say, hey guys, you know what, the fields are, we do this on a more regular basis because the rain comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. But we say, look out on the site and see if it's available. I don't understand what it takes to put in a pickleball, the net in, and like, I don't know how much work is involved there, or if we could just lock it up to say, sorry guys, not available this week, not available this week, and maybe take it week by week, because the weather patterns tend to hold. Like, we know when we're going to get a warm patch, we know when we're going to get a cold and icy patch. I think to your point, you know, if there's a certain temperature, you know, like, we could probably develop standards by which, like, forget it, we can't even like, the second there's cold weather and rain, we're done, because that's ice.
So how about this, if I may, Jen, because I think we could talk about this for another hour.
Yeah. Yes.
We have a meeting with our region this month, Park and Rec, for Mass Park and Rec Association. Happy to bring this up, see what everybody else does. Kind of, I know towns go both ways. I think it's more split down the middle than anything. And then let me see that, and then maybe our next meeting I can come to you with, again, speaking with Joe, see what we're comfortable with, probably talking to DPW, seeing what they're comfortable with, just because they're kind of the keepers of the courts. And maybe come to you with a policy or an idea of a policy draft, and we can take it up at our next meeting.
And do you want to run it by like Mark Purple, potentially?
I was going to say, and then I can
feedback.
Yeah. Jay will have office hours. I can just pop in and see what he wants.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I think that'd be good, so that we can get some input to make a decision on that. All right. So then I think we can wrap this with like the department will do the best it can to schedule time and provide hours, but we're doing this in the same way that we do with all the different programs that are asking for time. And I will make another plug. This is a great reason why people should be getting more involved as we look at the community center or the future of the South Union building, because we are in dire need of indoor space and we just don't have it. And we're bumping into this across the board. So, and then we will come back on the next agenda and talk about the nets and how long we think we can keep them up for, or if we want to change that policy.
And by next meeting, we'll happily have a schedule put together, most likely, of what the winter will look like at that point, just because it'll be late enough.
Awesome. That sounds good. So Marianne, thank you for your time tonight, and we will get back to you with more information about how long we can keep the nets up.
Okay, thank you. And I hope that we can continue to work with Tim and resolve some of the scheduling things so that we can continue our program. So I appreciate that. And I just wanted to mention one more thing. I know Tim had mentioned that there was going to be some correction of the cracks and there's one big area of these pickleball courts that probably need to be resurfaced before winter, because if that doesn't happen, then you are going to have damage with the ice and the coldness.
Yeah. So those are under contract with the contractors that built it. So
yeah.
I spoke to them today, so they're still on it. And I think someone will be out in town this week from what they're saying. So
that would be great, because we want to keep those going.
Us too.
So that would be the upkeep. They should be under warranty. Okay.
Yep. Oh, they sure are. Don't you worry.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your
thanks, Marianne.
I know.
Bye, Marianne.
Bye.
All right. So let's see on the agenda. So up next, we're going to talk about some unified and inclusive programming. So this is something that actually Jonna brought forward, and she and I chatted a little bit offline. And I asked her just to prepare a little bit to like share a little bit more about what this means with us. So that was one of the links in the agenda, a couple slides there, which I don't know if we want to bring them up. I guess we can, to talk through this as a group. Okay.
So thank you, Jen, and Tim for putting this on the agenda. This is something that I'm super passionate about since I have a daughter who is on the spectrum and is neurodiverse. I have a ton of friends in town who also have kids who are also within the neurodiverse group as well. This is something that we talk about a lot, is just generalized programming, what we do have available for those kiddos, teenagers, and young adults, as far as like programming through the town rec. Jen, will you be pulling up the slides, or do you want me to share them? I don't mind sharing them if you want.
I just made you co-host, Rona, so it may be easier just so you can control it on your end too.
Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Sorry, give me 1 second. Share. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I just pulled together a couple of slides. I just speak better to slides than just off the cuff. So please, as I'm going through, feel free to ask questions as they go along. So I just wanted to give an overview of, and I just want to say, I'm not a subject matter expert in any way, shape, or form. I have not done any sort of training in inclusive programming. I've never taken any classes. I'm coming from the point of view of being a parent of a daughter and a kid who is on the autism spectrum and who is neurodiverse. And as somebody who has been on our town CPAC for 5 years and working with a lot of families who have kids with special needs. And so this information just comes over the course of time of working with parents and kiddos who do have different needs. So when we take a look at like programming for those that have different abilities, there's a couple of different labels that we oftentimes put towards it. One is adaptive programming. So adaptive programming is recreational programming, referring to the development and implementation of recreational activities and programs that are tailored to meet the unique needs and preferences of individuals with varying abilities. It aims to ensure that everybody, regardless of their physical, cognitive, emotional, or social challenges, can participate in and enjoy recreational activities to the fullest extent possible. Adaptive recreational programming can benefit individuals of all ages and abilities, including those with physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, developmental, sensory impairments, mental health conditions, and more. And this is really to promote physical, emotional, and social well-being while fostering a sense of inclusion and empowering among participants. And in a further slide, I'll go into some examples of adaptive programming that I've come across over the course of years, as well as doing some research as to what other recreational departments may offer their residents as well. Unified programming is a little bit different. In that unified recreational programming refers to an inclusive approach to recreational activities and programs that bring together individuals with and without disabilities. So a lot of times when we think about unified programming, we think about Special Olympics. I think Special Olympics is the biggest one within our areas, which I know that our town has partnered previously with Special Olympics to offer, I believe it's soccer and maybe basketball as well. And I think that there is also some plans in the upcoming, I think it's in this winter, to offer unified basketball, I believe is what I heard or what I remembered. So we have offered, I think, as a recreational program, unified programming through Special Olympics. But really the target for unified programming is providing opportunities for social interactions, skill development, but also helps to break down a lot of the social stigma, societal barriers, and stereotypes related to disabilities, because you really are providing programming that's intended for to bring together those with disabilities, or those that are sometimes considered neurotypical and those that are considered neurodiverse. And then inclusive programming kind of can cover over both adaptive and unified. So it's just programming referring to the design and implementation of recreational activities, events, and programs that are intentionally structured to accommodate and welcome individuals of all abilities, backgrounds, and levels of physical or cognitive functioning. And just really promoting a more inclusive and diverse set of programming where people of all abilities can enjoy and share recreational experiences. So that's just kind of setting some definitions for some of the future slides, which I will go to the next one. So some programming considerations that I wanted to talk about tonight is, do we as the recreation department have an inclusion policy or a public statement? So in doing some research for other town recreations, I saw that some, not the majority, mind you, but some do have some sort of inclusion policy or public statement. So for instance, Sudbury Rec, they have a page on their site that goes over their inclusive and adaptive programs and what that means to their town participants. Natick Recreation actually puts directly on their spring, summer, fall, and winter programs that every program and activity and recreation and parks department is open to all, regardless of race, religion, color, gender, marital status, national origin, or persons with disabilities. and then they go into pretty specific programs that are kind of targeted to those that are neurodiverse. So I did want to talk about, do we have a public statement somewhere about what our inclusion policy is? The second point I was hoping to discuss is some programming should be adjusted for age. Okay, so a lot of times when we think about Special Olympics, we think the age range is 5 to 22 years old. Now, for me personally, as a parent of a little girl who is on the spectrum, especially when she was younger, I wouldn't put her into the unified program because I wasn't sure if she was going to be playing with like 22-year-olds. I just didn't think it was appropriate to have a program that spans such a broad age range. That's something that, it's taken me some time, and now that she's a little bit older and I think she's able to handle herself a little bit better, I do enroll her in like some of these programmings. But a lot of the programming that you see out there, and I don't know what we've done as a town before, I just know generally what I've seen for other programming that's been promoted out there. A lot of the disability programming is a very broad age range. And in talking with a lot of parents in town who may have children or young adults who have a disability, they also would like to see some more targeted programming, targeted to a specific age. So maybe children who are 12 and under, some teen programming, and who has been especially vocal in a lot of my conversations with residents of the town are those parents who have young adults who are 18 plus. They want to see some more adult targeted programming to support their young adult needs. The third point is consider inclusive recreational play in addition to competitive leagues. And then I would like to talk about, what can we do going forward? Either what do we have like in the pipeline, or what can we do going forward to have some more programming that is considered either unified adaptive or identified as inclusive for each of the age groups going forward. And then I guess the third thing another thing that I didn't put on here, but I was thinking about it as I was thinking about our meeting tonight is, I think especially through Special Olympics, there's a lot of Special Olympics programming that's happening in the surrounding towns around us. For instance, right now, I believe it's Northborough Recreation. They actually have their Special Olympics soccer and their basketball up and posted. And they're starting to register for both the Special Olympic athletes as well as the unified partners for those programs. I believe that there have been Special Olympic dance in, I think it was Westboro. There's Framingham that has Special Olympics cornhole. So there's different surrounding recreational departments that are having some adaptive programming. And so I was curious, like, what the stance is as far as like potentially partnering with them and not necessarily having families register through our portal, but just kind of like cross promotion. It's really hard for families to know when all these different towns are offering these adaptive and unified programming. And oftentimes, by the time that you get word of it through Facebook groups or whatnot, most of the programming is full. And so you've really missed an opportunity because you've learned too late that there is some programming available out there. And by the time you get around to wanting to sign your kid or your teen or your young adult up, it's full. So I would like to discuss that a little bit as well. So this is just a list of, I actually reached out to my network within the town to understand with families that have kids, teens, and young adults in the different age groups, what are the types of things that they would like to see? And so I'll start over here on the adaptive side. Would love to see some, and a lot of this stuff, what you'll notice, it's actually not centered around sports. A lot of this stuff is non-sport recreational opportunities, because, you know, that's what, it's just what families are looking for, and what kiddos are, we've heard, are interested in. So instrument lessons, voice lessons, art lessons, exercise classes, dance classes, martial arts. I have heard tennis, pickleball, soccer, basketball. And again, these are adaptive. So adaptive classes are maybe broken down in a way and taught in a way, so that the neurodiverse individuals who are signed up for these classes can maybe more appropriately access these classes. Or if there are individuals with physical disabilities, the classes are taught or modified in a way for those that have physical disabilities. For unified programming, I've already talked a lot about Special Olympics. Special Olympics kind of has it all. It's its whole organization onto itself, but there's Special Olympics, soccer, basketball, track and field, dancing, bowling. I think Shrewsbury actually has a Special Olympics bowling team right now. Cornhole, which I found in Framingham, all different. There's Special Olympic walking groups everywhere. I think Hopkinton has a walking group. Framingham has a walking group. I think Westboro just started a walking group. And a lot more that Special Olympics does offer. I think the biggest thing for me personally has been after school wrap programming. So I've been hesitant, and I know an awful lot of families that have been really hesitant to sign their kids up for after school wrap programming. And a lot of that is due to logistics, especially if your kiddo has a one-on-one ESP or aide during the day. There's not that support to participate in the after school programming. I think that is a bridge for many parents. Many parents don't know how to overcome. It's definitely, I can tell you, it's not for a lack of a desire to have their kids participate in after school wrap programming. But it's for that fear of, can my kid do it? And if my kid starts to have, behaviors or starts to do something that is outside the norm of the group, is there somebody there that can pay special attention and kind of bring that kiddo back in? And that's where the one-on-one support comes in. So I think that there are different things that we could probably discuss to try to overcome that barrier. Not anything to solve tonight, but I do think it's a discussion because the need is definitely there. I've seen historically we've done esports teams and leagues, which I thought was pretty cool. I found that in some of the paperwork and documentation before. That's something that all kids can participate in and be a part of. Pickleball and badminton again. And then just generally, I think one of the things that I've seen is just other inclusion and kind of like social opportunities. So I know that we do big events for the town. Like, we have summer nights, and we have, what's the day coming up on Monday?
Heritage.
So we do like these big townwide recreational and social opportunities. But some of the things that I've heard feedback on that people would really like to see are things like for board game nights, or paint nights, or puzzle nights, or pizza and a movie, or dances, or hikes, or yogas, or I don't know, just like maybe some other offerings that can be promoted as inclusive, that may not necessarily be competitive sports focused and related, that everybody can really like participate in. Some of these things could even be like cooking classes or painting classes, STEM and coding, a lot of which I know that we actually do offer today as well. But just really expanding the opportunities and figuring out how to promote the and a lot of this is even just about messaging, promoting the messaging that we are friendly to everybody, those with all abilities. These are just, I did a ton of research with other like recreation departments just to see some of the vendors that like other surrounding towns use. I put this together. I'm sure Tim and Joe, you guys are well aware of all of this, so I'm not going to go over that. And other than that, thank you for letting me actually like introduce this tonight. I don't have an expectation that we're going to come up with any sort of like, yeah, we'll do this or we'll do that. But I would at least like to start the discussion to see how we can be and get some more inclusive programming into Southborough for sure. So thank you.
Awesome. So thank you. I think it's helpful, and I think it's great to bring it back to the forefront and talk about it. So I had specifically asked Joe to join us tonight as well, as he leads a lot of our programming. So I thought maybe like I almost want to hear from Joe and Tim a little bit about like what we do today and like their awareness of some of these programs in other towns and like kind of their initial thoughts to this. Yeah. So I'll turn the floor over to Joe and Tim for thoughts.
Yeah. I'll say a few things, then I'll see if Joe wants to add anything as well. Surrounding towns, and I'm not using this as an excuse or take away anything, but Sudbury and Natick have full-time rec therapists on their staff. So they have a wonderful advantage that I'm personally jealous of when it comes to that. I started my career in Brookline, where we did have a full-time CTRS and a full-time rec therapist department. So I saw what a rec department could do, and I saw the work that it takes. So I'm not surprised to hear that they have such robust programming in those towns. I took two things away I took a lot away from what you're saying, but two things I just want to touch on. I think the first thing in a lot of what we do, a lot of what I've done even before Joe was here, and I know that we do together with programming, our most successful programs are the programs that we hear from the town that they want. And now, Joanna, now that you're on our commission, unfortunately, now I have access to you. You may not like it, but I do, and we do. And we love to leverage that network that you have in town. We speak to parents individually. We've had some programs in the past, some successes, some failures. But leveraging even on an anonymous way, just to kind of get more feedback on what they would like to see, how they would like to see it, where, when, time of year, week, things like that. I think it could really go to helping us with those decisions and kind of guiding us on what we can do. I'm no expert when it comes to this field. We both have colleagues that I know we can lean on in neighboring towns that can assist us on that. So this would be, at least for me, something I would welcome assistance with. And just the other piece of it too, and I'm sure Joe's probably chomping at this too, is the RAP piece of it. We do provide one-on-ones when the request comes. So if a parent comes to us and says, do you provide one-on-ones? It's even something that we ask upon registration. If your child has a one-on-one in school, and if they do, that triggers our office, and we call and we try to figure something out. We're limited to who we have in the system who's been willing to sign up with us as employees. We have a small network in the school system, but we've had great success of assigning one-on-ones, and even if it's making sure one of our monitors is just keeping an extra eye. It's something we deal with on I think on a every rotation of programs that Joe puts out. We usually get a request. So that service is there, and we fulfill it to the best of our ability. So I just want you to know that. So hopefully you can spread that word to your parents who may be a little hesitant of it. And, it's even got to the point where, is there a specific one, okay, put us in charge. And if we can bring them on our staff, we do, and, get that taken care of. So it's something that we always, we work to the best we can with that. But Joe, I'll leave it to you if you have anything else you want to add.
No, Tim, you touched upon that really well. And Joanna, thank you so much for bringing that up to our attention. And yeah, all of our programs, as like Tim mentioned, I don't want to reiterate all of it, but they're all inclusive. So as Tim mentioned, if anyone ever needs a one-on-one, we strongly recommend that they reach out to us and we can help accommodate them. And also, I know we don't offer everything on our website, but as we get requests in, we actively help find people who are looking for other adaptive programming. We do help them find that, whether it's with Northborough or with other private companies. We do help work with them.
Is there, and I don't know if this is like common practice across recreation, local Metro West recreation departments, but because there are relatively like fewer programs. So like every town has a soccer program, every town has a basketball program, every town has lacrosse, every town has da 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 da. But maybe only one town is offering, Special Olympics soccer at one time. Is there a common practice for promotion if one of these programs is coming up in another town, or are there limitations that kind of come into play where they're only offering and opening up these programs to non-town residents until like a certain date?
So I can touch upon that. A great question. So we're not offering, so we offer basketball and soccer religiously all the time, but we're not offering a program, let's say baseball or softball. We know Northborough does. So as parents reach out to us, we'll send them to Northborough, and Northborough does accept non-residents as well as many of the surrounding towns when it comes to like unified programs. Yeah.
Would we promote, are we allowed to like promote that? Like, are we allowed to say, hey, looking for unified programming? Did you know Northborough?
So we actually just did that with their Challenger program.
Okay.
We actually just it wasn't within the last couple of weeks, I think the last month or two. We have a great relationship with Allie over in Northborough, and I think you've met her through the meetings and stuff.
She's awesome.
So that's just an example that came to my head, with Challenger. We cross promoted it here in town, and they had space, and they're willing to welcome anybody and everybody who wanted to go play with them. So there's really no restriction, and it's same with our programs outside of school programs. Everything is open to non-residents. So
okay. So what I would say, I don't want to take up too much more time. I've already taken up like a lot of time on this meeting. And I know we have a long agenda, but would it be possible? I would love to, I think I'll just leave it as, I would love to partner with you. I would love to come up with more ideas to brainstorm and how we could get like the messaging out there to those that need to hear it or that want to hear it, or that, or even come up with ways to connect, like I said, the network that I have in town with you guys, so that we can maybe come up with some additional programming, outside of the Special Olympics, some more recreational or social events that this population is definitely in dire need of and looking for.
Before we close the conversation, could I just ask one quick question? And it kind of, or make a statement, a question. So this unfortunately just goes along with our last theme about pickleball, limited resources, right? Whether it be locations or people, or budget, and that's the unfortunate thing. So it's like, we want to do all of this. How do we do it without tripling, Joe and Tim's day? So my next question is, so I agree with you. We're not going to come up with solutions tonight, of course. But my only question that immediately came to mind was, Tim and Joe, have we ever, again, it comes back to, for the athletic stuff, have we tapped into other areas or other neighbors? And we have, clearly. But I will say this, I think Rec's done actually a nice job of offering a lot of non-athletic activities. We've done Gulbenkians, Chestnut Hill, painting, stuff with Chelsea, so I think the opportunities have been there, but maybe what hasn't been known is the willingness to provide that support that Tim spoke to. but even beyond, above and beyond that, like kids might not be comfortable in that environment. So what immediately popped into mind, at least for a segment of that population, not all of the population of kids, but have you guys ever talked to the New England Center for Children, who I'm on their website now, and talk about all these special different services, and they've got the pool and they've got great facilities, and I think we've generally had the town has a good relationship with them. Has there ever been any discussions there about potential collab or opening up? I mean, again, I know it gets tricky because it's a school, but just curious if those conversations ever took place.
Not specifically around programming. Or at least myself, we have some great contacts over there that we work with throughout the year just on other stuff. But that side of the conversations have never been started, so it's worth the question. It's worth an ask. So.
Yeah. And Johanna, thank you for bringing it. I know a lot of the people that personally, that face this, and definitely agree there's a need there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kristen.
So
if I can, Joanna, if maybe you, me, and Joe can set up a time in the coming weeks or months or whenever available, and then maybe we can brainstorm a little more offline, a little more in depth of what we could do to address it. I would love it. I would welcome it, and I'm pretty sure Joe would too.
I would love that. Thank you both, and thank you both for all that you do.
Yeah. And so the one thing I just want to add to that is, like, as we're doing that too, I actually love the idea of having some sort of statement on our website to address the fact that we are willing to partner and we are able to provide like resources for RAP. So like along those lines, I would say if you guys want to also draft up what a statement like that would be that we keep on the website as like a resource, that could be another thing to bring back to the commission to get everyone to see what we're going to do there. But yeah, I think that's great.
I think that would go a really long way, Jen, and Tim, as well as in our flyers. I know that there is a statement in there about one-on-ones, but I would love to maybe partner to see if we can kind of make that messaging a little bit more welcoming, and make it feel a little bit more inclusive than what it is right now. That would be wonderful as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. And so we'll throw it back on the agenda when you guys are ready to come back and chat more. Awesome. All right. Okay, so then we've got general department updates. Tim.
So I asked Joe to stay for this one so he can give a kind of a fall programming update because I'm always talking for him.
Yeah, so. No, I can take it from here if you don't mind.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so after school, so for Fen Rap, we sold out within the first week and a half, which is awesome. We have like athletic programs, we have STEM programs. We got like as much as the school is offering us right now for availability on rooms in the gym and the fields. We're trying to utilize as much as possible. So Fen's going really well. Woodward, we're going to the farm, which is going really well. Chestnut Hill Farm, that sold out. That did well. Neary, we started pickleball again. So I know the Neary kids are enjoying that. We have new like robotic programming. We have like our staples with like martial arts and chess wizards. So we're constantly trying to do all that. We partnered again with Skyrise, so they will be doing the play again at Neary, which I know a lot of families are very excited for that. As for adult programming, as you guys have talked about, we have pickleball, we have hockey for adults, we have basketball. We are currently trying to get the pottery studio back up and running, so hopefully we'll have adult pottery again. For like infants, we have like dance classes, we have yoga. We're partnering with Sew Studio to offer sewing classes. We're partnering with Spirit and Motion to offer dance classes. This is for all ages, including adults. We have dance classes. What else do we have? Uh, we're working on, obviously, you guys mentioned Heritage Day is coming up this Monday, and then we have Trunk or Treat coming up in October 21st. So we're very excited for that. I think that sums up decent amount of what we've been doing the last couple months.
Cross country, baby.
Oh yeah, Trotty, I forgot. Yeah, we have cross country, so that's exciting. That starts up. We have our first meet on Thursday, so very excited for that. And yeah, so that's all I got for you guys right now.
How do vendors look for Heritage
All
Day?
he's got. So
I know, that's it.
Yeah, but yeah,
How do
Yes,
vendors
Kristen?
look? How do vendors look for Heritage Day?
we are up to, I want to say 53, 54 around there, so pretty well.
Good.
Yeah.
Plus
I'm just
3
like,
food trucks, plus inflatables, Knights of Columbus. So yeah, packed field. You good?
ooh, and the weather.
Looking
It's gonna be
okay
great.
so far, so we're hoping
Yeah.
hoping it stays that way.
Crisp fall day.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nice.
That was my only
That's-
question.
So I finally have him at a meeting, so I will publicly thank him again, as I always do, for the work Joe's doing. I know it's a challenge for him to reset the programs every 6 to 10 weeks while he's coaching cross country, and soon he'll be away at ski and snowboard and all that stuff. So I commend Joe for the constant hard work, and it's paying off. We're seeing it in our numbers and our reviews and all that stuff. So kudos to him.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
You can sign off now, Joe. You can go to bed. So
Sounds good.
thanks, bud.
All right. So under old business for tonight, we had the dog park, but we're actually going to skip that tonight, and we're going to give Tim a little bit more time to coordinate with the internal departments and land a couple more questions that we don't have full answers to yet. So we will come back on the dog park as soon as we can. So then next up is talking about, so actually, Tim, were going to talk about the field permit revolving fund, or is that me mistaken?
I'll just say where it was left, as we discussed in the last meeting, we reached out to Jason. We gave him the capital, and you all might have been on that email, and if not, I do apologize. And brought up the idea that we wanted to discuss this, of what this could or might look like. He said that he was going, I believe, talk to the committee, and then they would come back, or as the meeting of when they may want to discuss it gets closer, he'll reach out to us and we can have a more in-depth conversation. I've not talked to Ballantine about it. They just had someone leave their department, so they're in a little bit of a scramble, short staff. So haven't been able to connect with him, but I know that is the other step as well, to get his take on it and maybe come to one of our meetings. But Jason is aware. He does want to have a conversation with us to see, the ways this could work. And we'll just wait to see when that time is.
And so maybe we can just kill two birds with one stone and have that meeting with Ballantine and Jason and committee and just like have one conversation to open it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That works. So I have South Union on here. I forget. Did everyone get? I think everyone got an invite for October 18th, but now I can't remember if anything was actually sent out or not. For that joint discussion.
I'm aware of it. I haven't seen it, but I'm also not the best.
Email? Okay.
No, nothing was
All right.
Yeah, the thing that you forwarded to me, Jenna, was just to you. So.
Oh, sometimes I can't tell when they BCC everyone. So, all right, I will forward you guys then tonight for that. I think they're trying to do it in person at the public safety building.
But Jen, was that only for the chairs and not for the committees?
No. It was meant to be like everyone all together. So like I will co-post so that anyone who wants to come can come and show up. I think the hope was that we would have our committees there, but I also do not think we have to have quorum there, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll forward that tonight to you guys so you have more of that. And I think it's
That's
already
kind of an interest. Yeah. We wouldn't be taking any votes for any reason. Yeah. Okay.
no, I don't think so. And I think it's been posted as a meeting. I just need to post on behalf of REC as well to cover our bases for open meeting law.
And for the most part, we hopefully, I couldn't go to the meeting tonight, but they were supposed to be reviewing the proposal that they discussed last week. That was essentially to build a committee that has inclusion by everybody involved in that. That they basically said, yeah, we can't make a decision until we know what's happening with Neri Finn. So there's a little time bot basically here for 21 Highland. It seems, again, wasn't at tonight's meeting, so hopefully a left turn wasn't taken, but that was what was supposed to happen, a proposal for a new committee to talk about what would go into an RFP, to understand the options, not waiting to find out what happens with Neri and Finn, but looking at potential options when and if the Neri and Finn decision is made.
The meeting's next week, Kristen, just so you know. There was no
Yeah.
select meeting tonight.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay. So we'll wait to hear on that then.
Yep.
Okay, so under new business, there's the community center committee. So there was a study linked here of a study they did of the Finn school and what that would look like if it were to be taken offline and turned into a community center. So I feel like there was a lot in that document. And then Tim, I know there is no next community center meeting scheduled yet, right? But they are asking for us to bring feedback to it when it does
Right.
get scheduled.
Correct.
So I guess maybe like for tonight's purposes, if anyone got a chance to read through that and has feedback or we want to discuss that, we can. If not, you can always look at it and then I guess send it to me. I'm just trying to think through open meeting law. Like I think that's okay if you send it just to me. So that I can like accurately and I think the biggest thing is like we'll review any feedback that our commission has with Tim to make sure that whatever we have is aligning to like the goals and the needs of the department. And that's really what we're going to be bringing back and representing the community center. Yeah. So maybe I'll pause and see if anyone have a chance to read it that wants to discuss it.
My apologies, Jen. I didn't get a chance to read it.
It's okay.
But I will try to read it and send a list to you and probably CC Tim.
Yeah, that works. Send it to me and CC Tim.
It's only 43.
Yeah, I know. I read through it. I guess I would say then my kind of like high level guidance is that they're trying to fit in community center, recreation, library, and youth and family into this building. Library is very much up in the air and like an unknown as to whether or not it would actually move down here. I feel like that's the one thing. Well, my biggest feedback
just like replace the roof and redo the library needs to move. Like
yeah. So my general sense is that I think the library wants to stay where they are, but like there's a whole different study going on for the library as well. My biggest piece of feedback on this recent study that was sent to all of you guys is that I think we need to understand how we'd use this building if the library was not part of it. And that's like, I feel like the big missing view that I thought our committee had asked for, but I don't see in this study. So that is like my biggest part. And then when I look at it and look at the space, I kind of feel like REC is being shoehorned into the corner. And I don't know if I feel like it's not being, I don't know. I think we need more space for REC.
I didn't read it, Jen, but like, but I mean, shoot, if we got control of that gym, you could fit at least 2 pickleball courts in there. So if Tim had to sit in a closet and we could have the gym, I mean, I might be okay with that.
Yes. Well, I mean, like that's where No, you'll see in the plans, like I think there's like 4 classrooms that were given for programming. And then I think Tim is being given a closet for offices.
Literally.
I think we need more space, like quite literally. We definitely need more space for offices, given that we have Tim and Joe and part-time admin and
classes and activities that require
I
space.
say actually, and I don't see it on the list, but I know, Tim, there's another ask coming in for another part-time hire too, right? But it's not on the agenda for tonight. So, but like having that space. So that was like, that's in really high level. That's my general feedback that I planned on bringing back to them. But if you, as you guys look at it and have questions, stuff like that, let me know. And I will let you know when that next meeting is scheduled, because anyone can call in and listen to the conversation. So.
Hey, Jen, on a committee like that with somebody from the recreation, would one of us be kind of assigned as like a conduit and assigned directly onto that committee to represent the needs and requirements of recreation committee?
Yeah. So, yes. So right now that is me, but I will put it out there that like, I feel like this committee is going to start getting off the ground and kind of heating up. And I also chair another committee in town. So like if anyone has interest in joining this and being involved and representing us as we look towards our new community center, like I will happily step back if somebody else wants to step forward and do this. I think it's going to start heating up in the next, well, I say that, but then also it really does depend on what happens with NERI. So there is this bottleneck in town of buildings kind of in a domino effect, but we definitely, I currently have a voting seat. Tim is on the committee, but a non-voting member. So at least we've got the 2 of us there, but like, yes, if somebody wants to step forward and take this, like, I think I would happily let someone else take this one. But yeah, that's the intent. And like the committee has, so us from rec, it has library on it, and it has senior center. So similar, like a voting member and a non-voting member. And then I think we have Capital is on it, and we have 2 or 3 community members at large that make up this committee. So
okay.
Yep. So I'll just say that there's clearly an intersection with 21 Highland and with CPC potentially here that I'd be happy to do it. But that being said, Johanna, if you're interested in doing it, I'd be happy for you to do it too. I'm fine either way. I agree, Jen. So on the plate. I didn't know if you were asking questions. I didn't mean to put you in that position. I didn't know if you were asking questions because you were interested.
I'm interested in learning more about it, but most importantly, I'm just happy to hear that, Jen, currently we do have that seat on the committee, and I'm happy to hear that Tim is involved and on the committee. Whether it's me or somebody else, I'm just happy to hear that we have representation. Yep. So Kristen, I'm not putting myself up for it at this time, and I'm not raising my hand. So if Jen wants to stay, or if you wanted to raise your hand, that would be great.
Cool.
I'll just give my points too, just before we move on. Just a couple things that I shared with my feedback when we were on the call with DRA. First is I don't really, like Jen mentioned, we're not really gaining any space by this, the way it's laid out right now. No, when we look at South Union, we have 3 program rooms and an office. They have down 3 program rooms and an office. And while they may be slightly bigger, I think in square footage, that doesn't account for what we have in our building, the kiln and things like that. There's a lack of storage significantly represented at the building right now. They have us tethered to the library instead of the senior center, which I believe has, makes way more sense. I think is more continuity between the departments. I do recognize their shared space. I recognize the gym as a shared space, and the cafetorium we would gain. And I know they even mentioned 2 or 3 more classrooms that are shared spaces. But when we look at rec specifically, we're not really gaining much. So that was a little disappointing to see it. Granted, they're giving us the newer side of the building and the one with the most access to the outside, given our facility there, our outdoor facility there. yes, those are pluses, but again, we're not really gaining much out of moving to a building like 20 times the size of where we are right now. The other piece of it too, to be aware when you're looking through the plans, there's two things. One, actually the main thing, I'll just go over that, is they are looking at taking away one of the softball fields and putting more parking in. So we would actually lose a field with some of these plans, which I know would be a very hard sell, I'm sure, with baseball. And I know we have other fields in town that we're bringing online, and I'm sure we can shuffle. But they would be looking to take away one of our ball fields to put more parking in. And I think that goes with the conversation of the library, and if that is going to be coming our way. So while the plans, obviously they're always impressive from DRA and whatnot, I, like Jen said, I feel like we're just still shoved in the corner and not really getting much. I look at buildings and I say, can we run summer camp out of this? And what they gave us, no. I still don't think we can, which is just foolish if we're getting our own community center type thing. Pam and I have we joke about it all the time. We would be great in the same building. We know that we can share space and everything like that. But, every option that's been put forward doesn't really let us spread our wings or build upon what we have. So that's really our biggest gripe of the whole thing. And you'll see that as you work through the plan. And that was already shared directly with DRA.
So, I'm sorry, who's DRA?
The firm that did the
study. There's no so I've gone through there's no verbiage as far as like mission statement, departments involved, square footage requirements, types of space needed, anything like that. All there are sort of pictures, which pictures are great, but there's no context, right? So
yeah,
again, so for example, the library, is this additional library space because they think they need more? The senior center, does the senior center then become vacant, or is this additional senior center space? Like, is there any sort of like, what is the total space? Like, I'd be interested to know what each of the relative departments get for space in the town. Like, if all of a sudden the library is increasing their available town space by 50%, but Tim loses a closet, like that doesn't, there's some, it's difficult as a presentation to understand relative size, use, commitment. Like, is the senior center getting more square footage, less square footage? The loss of the field is, why would they even need another parking lot back there? Like, so while it's a very, appealing to the eye, there's a lack of context as far as like what the strategies were, what we're trying to accomplish, what the net gains are. I feel like it's missing some stuff.
Yeah, I was looking for those references too. I do believe in an old study, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they might have documented somewhere like what the current is and what the projected need is. And I say that just because I recollect like that Malinowski will rattle off numbers, but I will look and see if I didn't try to put my fingers on it, because I was wondering that when I was reading the same thing. So I don't know, Tim, was that in like a previous, do you remember ever seeing it, or?
You just cut out real quick. I was fixing my speaker. So are you talking about the previous study that they did specific to
Yeah, or like, because like Malinowski will rattle off like, oh, so-and-so needs 70,000 feet and they have 30,000 today, or.
I think that calls back to the original space needs study that they did town-wide. So there's a study somewhere that calls out what our building currently is, what our offices are, things of that. And I believe that's how they were matching up the space.
Okay. So. I think that
so
was
like for like, but not necessarily growth.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a tough building. I mean, this is the problem with the single floor design, right? I mean, it was designed to be a school. Because you look at a footprint like this and you'd say it would be great if there was a second floor, because then you'd be in much better shape. So It's hard to evaluate something like this without the context of the total needed space by department, relative to what they have. And you run the risk of square peg round hole sort of thinking. I mean, it's too bad because I felt like when the talk was Woodward, it felt like Woodward had a lot more capacity and space to be able to accommodate more. This feels like this doesn't feel as compelling.
What took Woodward off the table? I just heard one day they're like, "Oh, it's not Woodward anymore; it's Finn." And admittedly, I don't really understand the backstory there. And not that I was necessarily thrilled with the Woodward plan either, but it seemed to make a lot more sense.
So a lot of the discussion there at the committee level was a lot of it was that like Woodward was a newer school building, but then there were also lots of challenges around ADA and accessibility into Woodward. When you think about the slopes and the lack of parking there and like the having to get up out of that parking lot up into the building for like our senior citizen community, there were a lot of challenges there. Then within the building, if you know the building, you walk in and immediately have to go upstairs to get into like that first hallway. So like, I mean, to the extreme of like, so the senior citizens have to stand in line for the elevator to go up those like 6 stairs. So there are a lot of things like that that kind of ran into. And so the committee had asked, why didn't we ever consider Finn, where it's like an older building and it's also flat? So if we're going to retrofit it, would we want to do that work in Finn? And then like that it was right next to Moody. So you also have the entire like sports complex kind of scenario as well. So the committee, we asked that we look at Finn. We wanted to understand what that looked like as well. So I do not think anything is off the table. I think it's more of we felt that we were missing a view on Finn to have a full conversation about this. And then, so I know we're going to meet and just the committee will meet and discuss more of like this feedback, but I honestly don't know what our next steps are until we understand where Neary's going, right? I think Neary is the 100%. First domino that's going to fall. Yeah.
And I'd add to that the library, because you brought that up in the beginning. Because I can't imagine that the public outcry about moving the library from that building in a downtown, like I just, in the money we've invested in
the library.
Yep.
They have been applying for grants and getting the funding, doing research, doing their own like feasibility study about what the options are within that building and what else they could do. They've also been holding like public sessions to collect feedback and surveys. So like the library is also running like their own feasibility study on their building in tandem to everything else going on. So there's like, we just have a whole bunch of dominoes. And I think that, I think Neary's going to be decided. And then whether or not there's appetite to expand or move from the library will then impact almost everything else. So
yeah, I mean, we could speculate all night long, but like, I can't even imagine that, like the outcry on that one.
Yeah. So I guess so as you look through it, if you have other thoughts, like don't hesitate to email Tim and I. Can
I just ask on the library, like, why would you move the library when there was that whole big thing about the pocket park being right next to the library and having that space be this whole big inclusive space? You take your family, you walk your kids down Main Street, you go to the library, you go outside, you do the history walk, you have the pocket park. Like, doesn't it all
together? And I think right now,
I think beautifying that whole downtown area. Like, I thought that was the whole point of doing all these things. Just saying.
Yes. I think right now we are literally turning over every stone. So this is like yet another stone that's being turned over. But like at some point we need to stop and we need to like refocus. But yes. Cool. Alrighty. So I'll leave that one at that. And next time we have a committee, whatever meeting, Tim and I will share updates back with you guys.
Just a quick question on that, because like everybody on the committee actually has voiced are you looking to get off that committee? Because Dawn actually raised a lot of excellent points about requirements missing, et cetera, et cetera. So like, are you looking to solve that tonight? Because it sounds like we have A few
So if
options.
somebody wants to volunteer to do that tonight, then yes, we could take a vote and make that change. If you guys want to think about it, if you guys want to chat with me offline, happy to talk to whoever wants to download what I know about it. But yes, like, I mean, like, if nobody is there, like, I'll keep going, but I would be happy to pass this off to somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, well, never mind. We'll take it offline.
Cool.
Next agenda.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, just before we jump back to the pickleball, it went for so long, and we should actually come up with a rule on how long we want our presentations to last in some cases, just so that we have a rule. But have we ever looked at like on Monday you're going to use St. Anne's parking lot to stage for the parade? Have we ever looked at using either any of the parish halls in town for some of that space?
Ooh.
I have not. No.
I'm not sure if that's appropriate or feasible or whatever, but they're the only other groups I can think of that have quantities of indoor space.
I know St. Anne's actually has a pickleball court inside. Fun fact. So, and it's part of their renovation that they're going to be doing. They're going to build a gym for it. So, but yeah, we can reach out.
Anyway, I was just thinking, and I didn't want to bring it up earlier because I didn't want to get into like I didn't want to commit you to anything, but it was just a thought.
All right, so we've got a couple admin things we need to take votes on. So Tim sent around the RAP monitor salary adjustments for this year that we need to vote to approve, so they can be set up in the systems to be paid. So yes, there we go, Tim. Do you want to just give the
motion
background
to approve the RAP pay chart as presented?
All right, second. So I can second, and then we'll ask, are there any questions?
What is a RAP monitor?
Yes.
So RAP monitor is the individual hired. It's a recreation employee who is there at the conclusion of the school day. They are responsible for gathering all the kids from the appropriate classrooms, checking them in, and then making sure that they get to their registered activity. So they walk them down to the assigned classrooms, assigned programs, outside to the fields or the courts or anything like that. So they are the guide once the school day ends.
Thank you.
And we have one at every school.
All right, any other questions about this? And just for like context, so we set these rates every year. It's part of what we do for part of the personnel board. And so these people can get in the systems and get paid. So, yep. All right, so then a roll call vote. Hanson, yes.
Oda, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Laval, yes. I messed up the order. I couldn't get off mute.
Gaynor, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
So you've got that, Tim?
Yep.
And so the next thing we have to review and approve. So Tim's job description, they needed like a slightly different format and one to make sure that it was up to date so that personnel board's been going through and like cleaning up a lot of processes and documentation, all of that. And this is like one of the latest things that they're doing across the board. It's getting all the job descriptions for all the roles in town organized and similar formatted. So like Tim and I looked at it, and I don't think there are any changes made, right, Tim?
No, this is actually held over from last time we did this, which was like 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Last time they reformatted. So
yeah.
There I went through and maybe a word here, a word there, but nothing worth making a stink over.
Yeah. So basically the personnel board needs our vote of approval that this job description is still valid and will be the one that is now on the books as the official job description for Tim's role. So any questions on that one?
Now I make a motion to approve the role description as provided by personnel for Tim.
Second.
All right, any questions on this one? Nope. All right, so roll call vote. Hanson, yes.
O'Day, yes.
Laval, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Stainer, yes.
All right. So then meeting minutes from last meeting on the 12th. So looking for a motion to approve those.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for September 12th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
All right, any questions on those? No? Okay. So roll call vote. Hanson, yes.
O'Day, yes.
Laval, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Stainer, yes.
All right. So then I just need to confirm a date for next meeting then. So pending anything else arising, our typical schedule is Tuesday, November 14th.
That's fine for me. And there's nothing around the town meeting warrant or anything that we need to keep our eye on, right?
No.
No.
So I'm gonna be in Israel. Is it okay? Like, I don't mind missing that meeting.
I can't make the 14th. So
Okay. Well, that works. Does the week before the 7th work for people?
that's election day, so there'll be no meetings.
Do that. Okay. Tim is the bummer tonight.
Don't say the 21st because I'm at a conference. So
So is there a different day than of the week in November that we can meet?
I'm fine any day right now.
Likewise.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be flexible.
Monday the
15th?
6th.
Do you like Wednesdays or do you want to do Monday or?
Well, I'm guessing that Johanna, if you're out that day, you're out that week. Probably you're not going for
Also
Wednesday.
the 8th.
I'm leaving the 9th through the 17th. So
Okay.
if we could do it the 6th or
Do the
8th,
6th.
that would be great.
Do you want to do the 6th at 7 o'clock?
If
Yep.
that works for everybody else.
Does that work for everyone else?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
And you said, just so that while the calendars are open, you said Wednesday the 18th.
That is the group meeting about South Union. Yes.
And that's at what time is that anticipated to be, or is that been declared?
I believe it's at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Yep.
And
I
that's
know
at
that
the
Public safety.
public safety,
Public
but we can't
safety,
have more than 49 people.
right. And I think that you will be able to dial into that, right, Tim? It's going to be, I thought they were going, okay.
I'm pretty sure that they have a whole new system at public safety to do hybrid. So
Yes. So I think it will be hybrid to allow some people to call in. So you can do either. I will post so that we can all show up and have no problems with open meeting law. So
The only other thing, and I don't have the information handy, maybe someone else knows it, but I want to say the 26th. I might be wrong, but I think there's still one more meeting the planning committee will be hosting about, the rules now around MBTA zoning. It's an informational session. They held one already, and I think there might be a second. I got to double check unless we missed both, but given the proximity to 21 Highland and or those of us that are nearby, it might be of interest to attend. Shoot, I'm trying to find it. Jen, I'll come back to you. My point bringing it up is that if more than a few of us were planning on attending, we might want to post for the heck of posting. But let me find the date and we'll start from there. We might have missed. I know they were doing 2 sessions.
So,
all of them.
The thing so I guess the rule with posting is if we are going to call to order or have a conversation among rec members about something related to rec, we have to post, right? We can't confer, or I forget what the official word is, without being posted. But something like that, I feel like it's not actually directly related to rec.
Right.
So as long as we don't all huddle together and talk about rec together, we're fine. So versus the official South Union, I'll post because we're going as a rec commission to discuss the building. So
yeah. Okay.
Cool. All All right, so I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:44.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Hanson, yes.
O'Day, yes.
LaBelle, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Gainer, yes.
All right. We will see you guys in about a month.
See you at Heritage Day.
Yeah,
Bye.
that's right. We'll see you Monday, Tip.
Yes,
See you on your holiday. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you, everybody. Good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Rachel, no more Zoom. No.